What is ethical research? So let's talk about some of the principles of how you handle research on humans, and I'm particularly talking about non-medical research on humans, and there'll usually be some sort of ethics clearance process in your institution that you'll have to go through, and it'll be possibly part of your proposal that you'll need to put in there. And before you can go and gather data from humans, whether it's through interviews or other means, there's going to have to be some sort of ethical process that you'll have to go through. And let's just talk about the reasons for that. Most importantly, it's about people's right to privacy and the ownership that you have as a researcher to give assurances that you will look after their data. So that's the one thing. And the other important aspect is that they then also give consent to you to gather their data. And the reason for that is because it could be of a personal nature, and there could be other elements within the questions and the answers and the discussion that you go through, if it's an interview process, that you will have to protect that data. You'll have to manage that data. When you combine that data with the other participants and you analyze it, you will be able to anonymize it. But in the process of gathering and analyzing that data, you still have access to that private information. So you must also, as part of your ethics clearance process, give assurances that you keep that data safely and securely. And we all know of lots of data breaches, and it becomes very embarrassing for institutions if data is lost or leaked out, which is of a personal nature, and there could be personal data, information, contact details, etc., that end up in the hands of people who don't have permission to use it, and that could be through the fault of negligence or other means. So these are all the aspects surrounding ethical research, and a lot of the students that I talk to, they sometimes have some struggles with getting that process approved. So my advice to you would be to get it going in terms of the process, the forms, whatever it is that you have to fill in, get that going as early as possible. And then it doesn't matter once you've got that ticked off, that doesn't mean then that you can go and do what you want. You have to be an ethical researcher. You have to be absolutely 100% true to what you've committed to do in terms of protecting people's data, destroying it after the right number of years, making sure that you anonymize it afterwards, and taking all those other reasonable steps to protect people's right to privacy. Now, when you do surveys, it's slightly different because often those are anonymous, so people are not giving information that can be linked back to an individual. So when you have isolated pieces of data, they don't mean much, but when you can connect pieces of data and link them to an individual, that then is data that you must manage a little bit tighter. And often anonymous surveys don't require that, but often there will be just an acknowledgement of the process of doing the survey, or the act of taking it, or that the person hasn't been coerced and it's not unreasonable and inconvenient to them to do it, etc. That might just be a tick box in the survey there as well. And of course, the last thing is that you also have to give assurances that to the person that you're interviewing or that you're gathering data from. You have to give assurances to them that there's no reciprocity, there's no favors, there's nothing that they're going to gain from participating in that research. It has to be completely voluntary, and they will have to have given their consent to provide you with that information as part of that process, but not in exchange for anything in return. So ethical research, absolutely important. And remember, you are protecting the reputation of your institution, because your institution has pretty much authorized you through your proposal to go and do this research. So they then have a liability to all the thousands of people that all their students are doing research on, to protect those people's data. So ethical research, absolutely critical, and very important that you go through that process and you maintain those principles all the way through your studies.